Alright lads, so we have the 9 new cards that are going to be added in a few days. When is this? It's the 13th, so in about a week. They have confirmed it's coming on the 20th, so you will be able to use your silver. So let's go ahead and talk about them. So the first is this 7-cost dragon, which is a 7/2, and says when summoned, change one of your opponent's mana to colorless mana. So I don't think this is super good, but the one thing to keep in mind about it is that essentially this acts as either removal or like a kill confirm, because this can let you just turn off the colored mana that your opponent needs to cast their spells. So I think it could be quite valuable for that. Because Phoenix is no longer an auto run, this means that typically decks will be leaving only 1 to 2 colored up when they need all of that. So this can be really nice to close out a game, in theory. We'll have to try it out, but I think there is some potential for this card, but I don't think it's super strong. Then we've got this 5-cost Demigod, which says when summoned, look at your opponent's hand and select a card and put a copy of that card into your hand. Now, I think this is pretty damn good. But before I look like an idiot, I'm going to double check what the artist's level 1 spell does. Yeah, I did want to double check that this didn't just instantly work with that. It doesn't. But the thing to keep in mind is that this is a relatively early play, and this again is going to be one of those cards that depends on the deck. But I can very much see the utility here. In the artist deck, you can steal a big spell and play that later, or indeed steal a big spell. Now, obviously, if you're in the same color mirror match, this is really good because you're just getting to steal something and look at their hand, so you know what they have, so you can play around the exact kind of stuff you have. And to an extent, this might be worth it just for that. I think the main thing with this card is it doesn't immediately seem super high value, but in my experience in other card games, looking at your opponent's hand is generally quite good. And getting a copy is just like of something in it. It's just like this nice bonus thing you get to do. So I think, again, we will need to see what happens, and I believe there is some demigod synergies as well in the Legion deck, but I think this will be a card to keep an eye out for in the future. If we ever see this format where there are 2 to 3 neutrals that basically every deck runs, that are super strong and counter certain things, then maybe this will be like that'll be the perfect time to just go, okay, stick this in, I can steal my opponent's copies so I have extra copies. So yeah, I think this will be a card to keep an eye out for, but nothing, again, like overwhelmingly like, whoa, super strong. And then there's this 9-cost. When summoned, choose a force, look at the top X of your deck and put any minion into the field where X is equal to selected force's life. So the nice thing about this is that it's any force, so it can be your opponent's as well. So the odds are you're probably going to be able to get 4 off this. It's, that is within your control to an extent. The thing I don't like about this is that it's RNG. However, for 9, if you hit 2 decent like 5 or 6 cost minions, this is really good value. This was really scary, and this would let you close out a game, potentially. Now, one thing that we will need to see is if you get the when summoned. You probably don't, so that is, potentially in detriment to this card. I think you will need to basically build a deck around supporting this card if you want to run it. I don't think you'll be able to just throw it into anything. but I don't think it's bad. I think it's interesting. I guess that's with all the legendaries. They definitely do a good job of adding mid-month legendaries that are not like format warping, which would probably, you know, we basically have what we need at the launch of the set. Okay, now we come on to the 6 epics. So basically I was spot on in my prediction. All of this would be Artigal support. The legendaries weren't. So I was spot on the epics, it being 6 epics, 3 legendaries. I was absolutely wrong. I was expecting a legendary spell for Artigal and all this stuff. So maybe next set, maybe we'll get some more Legion stuff. But let's have a look and read this. So these all have the same thing where they do something when summon and when advance. If there's an article in your field, base, or trash, they do something. So this will give you a movement. So essentially, she moves out for free. And then on your turn, if you chose Chimera and Siren, once per turn when a minion belonging to the Legion enters the field from your hand, put a copy of it on the field. That's a very strong field. It's a very, very strong effect. This feels quite strong in Duelist, because obviously you play this and you play like the 4-cost legendary and you get 2. That's a lot of aggro. Obviously Duelist is not spectacular. And the thing, I guess the main thing to note is that this is 0 specific cost. So you can run this card in literally whatever deck you want. So obviously there's nothing like super crazy that's coming to mind right now. Because it does, again, force you to run Chimera Siren. And to my knowledge, there are no decks right now that will do that. There's Pegasus Siren, certainly, but no Chimera Siren. Duelist is, I think, the only one that could potentially go with that. So I think this is decent. I think, you know, if you basically don't build your deck around it, but if you ever happen to be running Chimera Siren, this feels like a really strong inclusion. Because, you know, you get to move it out for free as long as you've got an article, and even if you don't, you are literally cloning anything you play, so it's doubling the value of the first thing you play. So if you play like a 7-drop next, this is effectively that giving you 7 in value, which is obviously really strong. We got the 6 cost here. So this one says, when summoned and advancing, you will increase the free cost of magic in your opponent's hand by 3. That's pretty good. And when retreating, if you chose Phoenix Pegasus, the next Legion minion you would play this turn, besides this card, becomes 0. So, this is, I think, a little bit better. Increasing the spell cost when summoned, so your opponent is not going to interact with this. And then, if you chose Phoenix Pegasus, you get to summon any free Legion minion. So basically a free Artigal is what it's probably going to be. It's pretty good. It's also when advancing, which is, you know, important because you can just trigger it. And +3, again in this current format, where there's not a huge amount of Phoenix, can be pretty devastating. Even with Phoenix, it will restrict the amount of removal they can use to one thing usually, or one piece of interaction, which is not great for survivability, and it can straight up lock out some options. So yeah, interesting. I think pretty strong. I think this one you'll see this in those Aftercall decks. Okay, next we've got the green one. So this one puts a green mana into your base if you fulfill the article condition, and as a passive, if you chose Minotaur Orthrus or your Legion, gain +2/+1. So again, pretty good. I think the problem is that the first effect is not fantastic. You know, ramping is fine and all, but like at 5, I'd want to see that on like a bit earlier, or like not restricted to like having an Artigal or something. Like, I don't know. I could be good in enabling Godsex more consistently, but again, it also forces you to run Minotaur Orthrus, and no decks do that. So you'd be running like your own thing. So yeah, I'm not too hot on this one. Crazy purple as standard. This one will pop 3 cost or less, so that's pretty decent. And then when attacking, if you chose Cyclops and Ouroboros, put a Legion minion from your trash into your base. That's an interesting effect. So again, this will salvage big stuff. Put it into base, you can trigger one advancing skills, which is really nice. It's cheap, you can play it early. I think this is pretty good. I think this will definitely be played in those decks. I think this will like hard replace the current 3-drop purple that's being run in a lot of those, if you're running Cyclops or Ouroboros, which some already are. So I think this is much more viable. We got our blue. So this one will base one of your opponent's minions, rested, so that's pretty good. And then on your turn, if you chose Chiron Siren, whenever you play magic with a cost of 2 or more, put 1 Legion minion from your base to the field in the active state. That is quite good. That is definitely quite good. So if you can set up your base over the course of the game with several big things, i.e. Artagals, and then you just, you got Sheldon, so you just drop like the 2-drop Sheldon, bring something out, replace the mana, bring something else out, then, Artagals when advancing activates, and you play this again, target an Artagal to like make it unblockable, bring something else out. That's pretty good. The deck's already run Sheldon. The problem is, of course, he's running Chiron Siren, which again is not too far-fetched. Could be done. So I think this one's good. And finally, when summoned and when advancing, you will minus 200 BP one of your opponent's minions. And if you chose Cyclops Phoenix, whenever your Legion minion wins in battle, deal 2 damage to your opponent. That's a scary skill. That's a very scary skill. 2 damage is a lot. But of course, in exchange for that, you are running Cyclops Phoenix. You're getting a less than optimal when summoning and when advancing skill. There's a lot. There's a lot some hoops you have to jump through for that. I think, again, it's reasonable. It is cheaper, which is one of the better things, so that when advancing is more likely to happen late game. But yeah, so those are the new cards that we're getting. Let me know which ones you think will be the best in the comment section down below. Please sub to the channel, hit the red button, get me to 1k, I'd really appreciate it. Check links in the description for Discords and all that kind of stuff where you can discuss these new card reveals as well. And please like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.